Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Sell More Academy, the mastermind for more sales. My name is Ben McGary, and for the last 2 decades, I've spent nearly every day trying to figure out how to sell more stuff. I've been in the trenches selling my own products and services for years. I built teams, companies, and systems that sell from Main Street, small town USA, all the way to Wall Street, and I've been fortunate enough to coach and consult for countless others worldwide, all in totaling over $150 million in sales. During that time, it has become painfully obvious that the marketplace is and always will be loud and noisy. Content creators and social media gurus are incentivized to push clickbait tactics and short-sighted strategies that often cause more harm than good. With the rate of technological advancement, it feels like everyone has all the tools at their fingertips these days, but nobody really knows how to put it all together. Plus, what worked yesterday might not work today and will almost certainly be different again by tomorrow. And that's precisely why I started Sell More Academy, to build a community and a set of resources to help you stay ahead of the curve, to help cut through the noise and make sense of the next best step. At Sell More Academy, we focus on what we consider to be the 5 pillars of modern business success: AI, branding, marketing, sales, and systems. We bring this to you through a powerful combination of a vibrant mastermind community where you can connect with and learn from fellow high achievers and experts in the field, live masterclasses just like this one, where we go through the strategies and tactics of each pillar, covering one per day, a curated collection of resources, including free tools that we're building to help you sell more effectively, and our Sell More directory, connecting you with the pre-vetted providers and solutions that you'll need when it's time to either outsource or just find the right tool for the job. Our goal here is to provide you with everything that you need to not only stay informed and competitive, but to sell a lot more stuff. And that brings us to today's masterclass, where we're going through AI. Specifically, we're going to talk about no-code AI workflows. And the reason that we're going to go through this is because for the longest time, people have known that they wanted to automate, but haven't quite known how or what to automate. And so we're here to show you that using just a natural language approach could actually automate your entire sales engine and your business. So let's dive right in. All right, it's adjusted properly here. As I said, today we are going through the no-code workflows so that we can automate our business with natural language. We do not have to be tech experts. We do not have to be automation engineers or AI engineers in order to make this work. And we're not going to write a single line of code here. This approach is really more focused on just transforming kind of how you work to make each of your processes just a little bit smarter, a little bit more efficient. It's not necessarily here to replace humans by any means, but we just want to continue to refine and iterate as much as we can. Ideally, when you leave here today, everyone should know how to build smarter workflows that will actually work for you. The fear of complication should be completely gone, and you don't need to go pay thousands of dollars to an automation agency to do exactly what I'm going to show you how to do today. Many of us oftentimes feel like we get stuck in this like productivity trap where we spend too much time on tasks that don't really contribute to growth or to the bottom line. So that's what we want to focus on. We want to focus on these little hidden drains of our day. Things like endless data entry or double entry or constant context switching. That is one of my pet peeves, is context switching from one thing to the next. And so we want to be able to prevent that as much as possible because it just demoralizes and absolutely ruins any productivity that you have throughout your company. The manual processes that you have are the bottlenecks that are keeping you from growing. And so if we can remove those, you can improve your deal velocity, you can improve your bottom line, and you can improve communication and culture throughout your entire organization just by using a little automation. So it's pretty crazy. Let's dive into how to actually break free from the whole trap that we're in of this automation being too difficult and manual work being too laborious. Okay. So, like I said, many of us feel like we're kind of caught in a bit of a trap where we spend too much time on tasks that don't really contribute to growth. So here, what we want to focus on would be figuring out which one of our tasks, making a list of all the different manual processes that are creating those bottlenecks that slow things down for us, and ultimately the ones that we feel are preventing our bottom line from experiencing, the growth that we feel like it should. So our goal here, we're going to explore how to kind of break free from this and reclaim that time without having to go get a computer science degree. But really, to truly automate, we need to understand the core anatomy of each and every workflow. It's really not difficult, and we've covered it in previous master classes, but it's worth stating again and again that there's really only 3 core functions of a workflow, of an automation. And so whether you call it an automation or you call it a workflow or you call it a playbook or whatever the case may be, it is a series of actions that go together. And so that's what we're looking at is we're using workflow because we use HighLevel so much. You could, by all means, use whatever flows make sense to the system that you use. We're going to look at a few different systems here once we get into once we get into the automation side of it. So to really understand it, we just know that there's going to be 3 core pieces, and we're going to dive into those right now. The anatomy here is very simple. We have a trigger. Triggers are maybe the most important piece of the puzzle here because it's what kicks everything off. It's the starting gun. It's the, initial domino, the first domino to fall. And so understanding what triggers are capable, what triggers are possible, and what, matters to your business is extremely important. The next thing that kind of takes place here is a function. Now, functions, I will say, are not always used, but that is kind of the second step here, is to think about when a trigger happens, when an event takes place, what is the logic that needs to take place? So that could be something as simple as if this happens, then do that. Or it could be a reformat, change the format of the date from this to that. Whatever the case may be, there are a lot of different functions that are there. And then the final piece is the action. And so there could be multiple actions. There could be 100 actions per workflow if that's what fits you. But it's ultimately about we have a trigger, we have some kind of data manipulation with function, possibly, and then we definitely have some kind of action. So kind of a cause and effect type layout here. Okay, so let's start here with the trigger. So if every single automation needs a trigger to kick it off, like I said, it's kind of the starting gun here, then the specific event is what we need to identify. And that specific event that we've identified, it really could be anything. It's basically whatever it is that wakes up your automation and tells it to get to work. So think about a few moments in your day that consistently signal the start of a new task. At 9:30 every day, we start our class. And so that's a trigger that's going to run, and then there are actions that take place after that. After our class, that when the transcript is ready, that is the trigger that then starts a series of about 20-ish, we'll say 20-ish actions that take place for our post-class workflow. And so ultimately, you got to figure out what are those triggers. They could be time-based, they could be event-based. they could be data based. When this takes place, make these actions happen. And so ultimately, again, we just want to figure out what are your triggers, and there's going to be a lot of them. I have a list here that I'll go through with you of multiple different triggers that could potentially kick your workflows off, and I'll give it to you here with the class afterward if you're in the mastermind. All right, so moving onward, we can see that some simple triggers that would be common would be things like new form submissions, a new row added into a table, or a deal stage change. And so these are super simple triggers that probably apply to all of us in one way or another. And so that could kick your automation off and move us over to step 2, where we are applying logic with a function. And this is how we make workflows intelligent, right? It's not just a simple, when this happens, do this every single time. That would be great. But oftentimes there are little nuances between one customer to the next, or one prospect to the next, or just one SOP to the next. And so that's where we want to apply logic. It really provides a brain to an individual automation. So it's not necessarily a brain to everything that you're doing, but it's a brain to this individual automation. And here we can make our workflows smarter. We can make them responsive. By using functions, we can process data, we can set conditions, and we can even integrate with other applications. So a couple of the key things here. Formatting. So we want to change the way that something comes across. Not all systems use data in the same way or format data in the same way. And so we may need to clean that up. We may need to change the formatting before we take it to another system. Or maybe we just need it better for readability. Maybe it came across in some code fashion like JSON, and we need it in plain text so we can understand it. Another thing that we can do is filter. So if it hits this criteria, then move forward. If not, then do this. Delays. So maybe we want to wait a specific period of time before we send something. So a delay is a function. API calls are another example of functions. So if we need to call out to other systems that then feed that data back into our workflow, that's how we have a really intelligent workflow. So functions are optional for most of us, but for those who actually need them, they are the entire logic system, the brain system behind the workflow. They're the only reason why the workflow makes sense in a lot of context. So don't get stuck on this part. I think the easiest thing to do is just to go from trigger to directly to action, but we use functions where we need them. It's not always going to be a 1, 2, 3. It could be trigger, action, function, action, function, action, and so on. It could just keep going in one specific workflow. So you're going to move the functions in where you need them. It's just important to understand what they are so you know when to even try to use them. Okay, next, the magic, the action. This is really the final piece of that automation puzzle. This is the specific job that you want your workflow to perform once that trigger fires. And then if you have a function, once the function has processed the information. But you think of the action as kind of like the concrete outcome, right? So this is what I should expect. This is the tangible result that should be delivered once this workflow has run its course. And this step here is really designed to make sure that anything that we've done with our functions that we can turn all of that logic, even in the trigger side, we're focused on logic, right? Because this happens and then this. And so what we want to make sure of is that we are turning all of this raw data into a real world impact, right? We don't want to just necessarily throw everything onto a sheet unless that sheet's there just for a backlog for us. What we want to do is be able to add and update rows to a sheet. We want to keep things in line. We want to remove cancellations. We want to add new sales. We want to communicate so our systems are synced together. There are so many actions that you could use across so many different services. It's really just about making sure that you understand the core components here. And once you do, Then as you look throughout your business, you'll start to see triggers and actions and even some functions already playing out because you already have these in place. It's just getting used to new terminology and then how to piece it all together. And that really brings us to the AI side of things. And that's why this time, right now, not a month ago, not next month, right now is the best time to really be building your workflows, or at least rethinking how you approach automation. And that's because so many of the AI builders now, or of the workflow builders, automation builders, are coming out with an AI builder, which allows us to use natural language. And again, as I mentioned, we don't have to be a programmer. We don't have to worry about API calls. We don't have to worry about setting up all the intricacies of webhooks. We can just talk like we would normally chat. Whether you're chatting with ChatGPT or you're chatting with a team member and you're trying to explain to them the workflow you need, this is working in essentially the same fashion. So we're moving kind of beyond the drag and drop interface where you have to select your thing, bring it in, hope that you can get it all connected. And we're going to use AI to help us to create this architecture. Now, I can't say that it's going to be perfect every time. We're just not there yet. And truthfully, you're not going to give it good enough information for it to be perfect every time. You'll get better over time, but this is an iterative process like most things that we do. And so the nice thing is the AI is much more intuitive. It allows you to make some mistakes within there. It tries to deduce what you mean from what you've written so that it can properly build this. And the outcome is that you end up with either your desired workflow or very close to it that you've gotten in pretty much plain English. And you have something that's either, again, completely or very close to completely functional right off the bat. Now, this is huge for getting things right, but it's also incredibly helpful for speed. For anyone who's spent a lot of time building automations, you know that you may spend an entire day on a single automation, trying to automate one single process. And a lot of times that's because of the drag and drop interface where we're trying to bring in different tools and make them all connect properly. Fortunately, using the AI builders, we can simply just tell it what we want to happen and let it build the underlying logic for us. So let's take a look at what this could look like in a couple real world examples. So first we have the marketing demo here. And what we will be looking at will be like some social proof automation. And so after we get done with these couple slides, we're going to go open up a couple builders and look at how we could map this out. And so first, we're looking at a trigger for a new Facebook comment. This could be multiple different social media, so it's not specific to just this. But we're saying if a new Facebook comment comes in, we want to filter, use a function to make sure that it's positive. And if so, then we want to post it to social proof in our Slack channel. So the natural language prompt, which does not need to be word for word, I just want to make that clear. This isn't something you have to copy and paste. I'm not here to teach you to copy and paste. I'm here to teach you how to think about this prompting side of things. So instead, when someone comments on our Facebook page, filter for positive sentiment, and then post the comment to our social proof Slack channel. I mean, it can't really be any easier than that. That's exactly how you would probably tell your assistant or your COO or an outside automation agency that you've hired. Exactly like that. And so you can absolutely walk through those steps. We'll come back and I'll use this exact prompt when we open up the builders. Next, we have some operations. As many of you know, I deal with operations for most of my day. And so here we want to think about a contract review workflow. So the automation begins with a trigger, a new file that has landed in our contracts Google Drive folder. Then we would use a function to introduce a 1-day delay. So in this instance, the function is just a wait. That gives us a bit of a buffer. And then the action will automatically email your legal team to review the document. Now, this absolutely streamlines a very critical process, ensuring that nothing is going to fall through the cracks and that you don't waste valuable time on something that is so easy to automate. right? The contract always has to get over to the legal team. So why do you have to hand deliver it every time when there are tools that will help you? So a simple natural language prompt that would work for this: when a new file is added to our contracts Google Drive folder, add a 1-day delay and then send an email to the legal team to review it. Very simple. Trigger, function, action. Okay, onward to the next one here. Let's think about sales and systems. So how do we go from sale to project handoff? Well, pretty simple here. We're going to say our trigger is going to be our deal closed one. Our function is just going to be to format the deal value, make sure we get that right. And then we're going to go create a project in Asana or ClickUp or wherever you're using your project management tools. And so a natural language prompt sounds like when a deal in our CRM, whatever CRM you're using, is marked closed one, format the deal value to include a $sign, then create a new project in Asana or whatever project management tool you're using the client name. So again, we just write out exactly as you would tell somebody on your team or you would tell an agency that you've hired. It's very, very straightforward. Okay. Now, before we jump into this and you immediately open up one of the tools that I'm going to show you, you really need to, I encourage you to use the blueprint worksheet that we're going to add here just to map out your logic. The first thing that you want to do is to identify your trigger. There may be multiple triggers, meaning there could be 3 or 4 reasons or 15 reasons why somebody starts this workflow. Now, I recommend keeping that as few as possible so you only have 1 or 2 or maybe even 3 triggers leading someone in, because it's a lot easier to manage multiple workflows than it is to have one complicated workflow. But you want to identify your different trigger or triggers, and then you want to know what functions are needed. Do you need intelligent logic in here to process this information, or can you skip that stage? And then finally, you're going to describe the actions. And so it's pretty rare that we have a single action on our workflows anymore. Oftentimes, we're trying to update multiple systems or send notifications or whatever the case may be. So you're probably going to have on most workflows more than one action. And so you want to continue to list those all out. And it's important to spend your time doing this in some type of a worksheet, on a whiteboard, on a piece of paper before you start building. Because if you build if you try to build as you go, then you're going to build based on what you see as opposed to what you need. And I've made this mistake myself plenty of times. So I'm just encouraging everyone to just plan it out first. Another important aspect to this is that when you go build, including in the systems that I'm going to show you, if you were to stop paying for those systems or stop using those systems, your workflow is going to live in those systems. And so if you were to hire somebody new or move to a different system, then you would have to rebuild from scratch and you wouldn't have any blueprints to build off of. So always encourage, before you build the house, make sure that you understand the blueprints. If you're the one that has to make them, then by all means, take your time and do them right. Okay, so before we wrap up this part, let's move over and take a look at a few other small tools I've got for you today. So the first thing that I'm going to leave for you, if you are part of our mastermind, if you're watching this on YouTube, join our mastermind. You'll get all the tools that we provide along the way. But today we're looking at 101 no-code automation triggers. And so this will be provided for you. You don't need to memorize it or take screenshots. You'll have it available. But these are broken down into sales triggers, marketing triggers, operations and productivity triggers, customer success and support triggers. We have finance and admin, and then we have personal productivity. And so these are just here to give you an idea so that you're not staring at a blank page. Maybe you need to use when a call is logged or completed in your CRM, Or maybe for you, you don't care about any of that. You just need to know when somebody is filling out the contact us form on your website, and then there are 3 or 4 things that need to happen. So this should help to get you in going in the right direction, to pick some things. I recommend printing this off and then going through and just crossing off the ones that don't apply to your business, maybe circling or putting a check next to the ones that you want to build out. Then over time, you just build one by one. So again, this will be available for you. Feel free to look through it, add to it. This is not everything. There's just a countless number of triggers that you could come up with. And there's going to be some that are specific to your business, to your market, to your industry that don't apply to anyone else. And so just be creative. Whatever it is that is going to kick off your workflow, just like it would kick off an SOP for a human that's inside of your business or an agency that you're hiring. Okay. Now let's take a look at, I've got 4 different automation platforms pulled up. We're going to move through them very quickly, but I want to make sure that everyone understands that you can use any automation platform you want. The ones that we have chosen are because they are 4 of the most popular, and 2 of them do not have an AI builder, and 2 of them do. So let's dive right in. One of the most popular automation tools on the market is make.com. And when we look at make.com, you're probably used to seeing something like this for a brand new scenario. Scenarios are what they call them here instead of workflows, and that's fine. Okay, so here what we have to do is we are going to click and we're going to have to find what is our workflow or what is our trigger. So this could be, a Google Drive folder. And so we want to watch files in a folder. Remember, that's what we were looking for on the one example. So here we would be watching for it. And then the next thing that we're going to do, just say, say from now on, great. Now we're going to add our functions or our actions. So here I would come to tools. I would put in whatever tool that I need. And then I would say, maybe I want to send a message to ClickUp because we use ClickUp here. So in ClickUp, I want to upload a task attachment. Great. So now I'm going to go through the process of searching and connecting. And then now I know whenever a new file is created, it comes over here. Now, if this seems easy, then by all means, use it. There's nothing wrong with what we're using here. There's plenty of actions that you can do, plenty of different ways that you can route things together and move them around to visualize them. Make is one of the top requested, top used for a reason. It's incredibly scalable. It has an unbelievable amount of connection points that are already done for you. Any of these tools that we're looking at, they all have a ton of connection points. And the good thing about a connection point means that you don't have to code one up yourself. You don't have to use the API endpoints of that software. So that's Make in a nutshell. You can continue using it. This is the lightest tutorial that you'll ever see on Make because that's not our intention here. I just wanted you to see that this is kind of how it works. You're going to add another one to it. And I'm sure they'll come out with an AI one soon. But until then, this is how we build them. Now let's look at another popular one. If you're in the software space, if you're in the SaaS space, if you're in the consulting space, you probably know Pabbly because it's a smaller player. It's almost a bit of like a cult classic type thing for software. Everybody that is in that space knows it. And it's usually because they offer some kind of crazy deals. It's also not quite as reliable as some of the others. I will say that. I've built up plenty of automations on Pabbly because I had a good deal, and they were not as reliable as some of the other tools that we're showing today. Now, that could just be my use case. Maybe I didn't set it up right. I'm totally willing to say that that's 100% my fault, but I just want you to be aware. It works very similar to what you're going to see on make.com. And so, we could have a webhook that maybe kicks this thing off if that's how we want to start it. Maybe it's on LinkedIn and we have a new post that's been liked. We were looking at a social media one over there. The thing about this, the reason why it's not moving forward is just because I have to actually connect everything in order for it to move forward. So I can hit connection, connect with LinkedIn. It's going to open up another window over here for me to log in. I don't think I have an existing one connected. Yeah, so we're going to skip this part for now, but it's pretty simple to just walk through, exactly the same as Make. You add your trigger, you can add functions anywhere you want, you can add actions anywhere you want thereafter. Again, no AI builder. I would expect that it's coming soon, but that doesn't mean that you can't use these systems. I just want to make that clear. Now let's jump into two platforms that have AI builders and they are ready to go for you. So the first one, and probably one of the most popular in the world, is Zapier. And so when we're building Zaps, we now have the AI beta copilot here, which allows us to either auto, meaning we can just dump in our prompt, or we can ask for help in constructing our prompt. We can also even do this through voice, which is amazing. You don't even have to get this, all of the little intricacies right in order for this to work properly for you, which is kind of crazy. And that's one of the issues when we think about some of the other systems, is that you have to have every little piece right in order for it to work. So let's switch over real quick, and we're going to grab this prompt if we can. Let's see. Tell you what, I'm just going to pull this over here for a second so I can type it in. And I will use the dictate feature. When someone comments on our Facebook page, filter for positive sentiment, then post the comment to our social proof Slack channel. That's it. It's exactly what the natural language prompt from the slide said. And all we're going to do is hit start building. Now this is going to think through. It may have questions for me if I wasn't clear enough, or it may just start laying it all out. There we go. We have some questions. Okay. So which Slack channel should it post to? We'll say social proof. I don't actually have a channel for this, so it may not be able to find it, but that's okay. Hoping, I'm kind of being cautious, but I don't think that I've done anything that should fall out of anybody's wheelhouse as far as technical level. You know, we've used dictation, we've literally read the natural language prompt so far. We've typed this in, we're letting this do what even just a few years ago you would pay up to $200, $300 an hour to get somebody to build this out for you. I know, because we were an automation agency, and so we've done a lot of this. And this is how that stuff dies. This is how you get control of it on your own again, so that you can control, you can decide all of the steps of your workflow. Okay, so the Facebook page needs to be selected before it'll let me move forward. That's fine. We can look here at the automation that's been built. So we can see the little red X, meaning I need to go do something. Then it's going to, it built in an AI by Zapier node here, so that it will go through and check to make sure that we are analyzing the data properly. Now it looks like it's still actually writing some of that over there. If you noticed when I closed the prompt there, it was still writing, so this might still fill in. But even if not, you can just come write in your little details. Not going to take you very long. And then the channel message, you would simply select your channel, and then you can add that text in there. So it makes it super easy. Right there, we've connected what could have taken us hours previously to do. And so this is a really, really, really easy way to make sure that we are, you know, at least getting the right nodes down. Now, the details inside of them, you know, maybe you need to adjust every single one of those. Maybe every single one of those needs your eyes on it, and that's fine. It's the key point is that you can use AI to help architect these workflows. Okay, let's look at another one here. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to switch over to HighLevel. HighLevel is now one of the top automation platforms in the entire world, which is mind-blowing if you know how far they've come, and kind of scary when you think about how far they plan to go. And so I believe that they have one of the better AI builders that's in the system, or that's in any of these systems. And so if you are already using HighLevel, you're all set. If you're not using it yet, then in our directory, we have a link for you to get started. And you could also have the option to use our white labeled version, which is called Tax Stack. And that's a little bit different conversation, but we do offer our version with our own support. So anyway, let's move on to creating this operations prompt that we were looking at. And so I'm going to dictate this instead of typing it out just to show how easy it is. If I could get Grammarly out of the way here. When a new file is added to our contracts Google Drive folder, add a 1-day delay, then send an email to the legal team to review it. Perfect. So straight off our slide, let's submit it and let this thing start doing its part. So I think just watching these operate should help to break down really any insecurities over the architecture of how to build what you want or what you see in your mind. And then the speed, right? You don't need to set aside an entire day. If you could pick out 10 minutes, you could very quickly write out what your automation is going to look like and then come over here and build it. Really, whatever it is that you write out is a copy paste into the AI builder. Another reason why you should write it out first. That way it's always going to be exactly how you want. One thing that happens often with AI is that we don't, just like if we hire somebody new, we don't give it enough information. And so by writing it out ahead of time, you could literally, like I said, copy paste that in, and then you will be good to go. So let's take a look at this. It looks like it's built the whole thing out. I'm not going to read it all while we're here, but obviously you would normally want to. We have a new trigger. And so the system here, we can look at all of the different triggers that are available. And we'll notice that Google does not have its own trigger. Now there's one for the Google lead form, but there is no trigger for Google Drive yet, right? So we have some for contacts. There's just nothing for Drive. Now, what we could do is we could use a webhook. So we could use an inbound webhook to say, we want to change this. Now, this, depending on where you're operating your business, is going to depend on which system you want to use. So for instance, if you're not using HighLevel already, if you're using Pipedrive, or you're using Pipeline Pro, or using HubSpot, or using Salesforce, or using something else, then it doesn't probably make sense for you to go use HighLevel just to use the automation. In that case, you might want to just stick with Zapier. Zapier is more expensive than others, and I get that. But the ease of use, right? We could always jump over and go to N8N and use something that's way more technical, or build our own API box that we could send in and out of. But the point of this is to be able to just get them started. So as a founder, as a leader, as a manager, you should be able to create your workflows, even if they're not perfect. So if I handed you a list of 10 of these workflows, and all you had to do was go in there and connect them and make them perfect for you, that would be much easier than you having to start from scratch. So the same thing goes for your team, whether that's internal or external. You could map out all of your workflows and then literally hand them to them to complete them, to connect them, to get them all working properly and tested. So this puts you kind of back in the driver's seat when it comes to things that usually we've had to outsource. And it's such an important aspect of our business to be outsourcing. So ultimately, find which tool works best for you. I don't care what you use. That's not our intention here to tell you one way or another, but it's to let you know that they're all essentially going to work the same. They will all probably have some type of AI prompted builder in them soon. So you don't need to jump ship and move to a different platform just for that. But you could still use those type of platforms, set up a free account on Make, just to play around with it, and then set up the cheapest account on Zapier just to play around with the AI one, just so you can kind of compare. And maybe you can use it to help map out your workflows. Now, I know what a lot of people are going to be thinking. Why wouldn't I just use ChatGPT to do this? I'm already using AI. Why do I need to use this AI builder? Because when you use ChatGPT or you use an AI that is untrained on the platform that you're using, it's going to hallucinate almost every time. It's going to make up features that don't actually exist. It's going to complete sequences with blank spots that don't make sense for you. So use what makes sense for your business. That's the most important piece I can tell you here. All right. So we're going to wrap up today. This is the end of our AI automation so that you can build your no code workflows and you can start using AI within your business. You can start using automation within your business today. If you're already using it, you can use this to perfect it. I've built hundreds of thousands of workflows through my life, and I'm telling you that we're going through most of them again with AI to look for ways that we could have done it better, to look for errors, and ideally cut down our massive error rate that happens. If you build a lot of automations, you know that error rates are the things that wake you up at night. And so this is just another tool that you have in your arsenal to help make sure that you streamline your business in a way that works for you and for those that you serve. And so there's really no strategy barrier anymore. You know what to automate. We've got 101 triggers that can kick things off. We're going to give that to you. So there's no strategy barrier anymore. There's no understanding barrier because everybody that has watched this should now know how triggers, functions, and actions work. So we all have a clear understanding of it. So there's no strategy barrier, there's no understanding barrier, there's no execution barrier because you don't even have to click the buttons. You can type or you can talk to your system and let it build your workflow for you. So if there's no strategy barrier and there's no understanding barrier and there's no execution barrier, then there are no barriers in your way. And you are now an automation architect. You just have to do it. So the skill is creating that strategy. It's making the blueprint first, not the technology we use. We just looked at 4 different technologies and mentioned 4 others at minimum. It doesn't matter which tool you use. It matters how you use it. And hopefully today has helped you to think about that a little more clearly. So that's it for today. We're going to wrap this up. If you have any questions or comments or concerns, or you want to show some workflows that you've built, feel free to use the comments right below this video. If you're in the mastermind already, I ask that you bring that stuff in. Let's talk about it. You'll find a conversation running for no code AI workflows, and you can hop right into that thread and again, ask your questions. You can share any comments that you have. You can ask for help on your particular automation that you're working on. And so the goal of the community is to keep these conversations going in a way that helps you to grow, helps you to build, and helps you to ultimately sell more of your stuff. So again, that's it for today. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. We'll see you back here tomorrow for a branding masterclass. Until then, see you later. Go sell more.